and welcome to the Music Business Buddy with me, Johnny Amos, podcasting out of Birmingham in England. I'm the author of the book, The Music Business for Music Creators, available in hardback, paperback, ebook format. I'm a music creator myself. I'm a consultant, an artist manager, and a senior lecturer in both music business and music creation. Wherever you are, whatever you do, consider yourself welcome to this podcast and to a part of this community. My goal is simple: to try and educate and inspire music creators from all over the world in their quest to achieve their goals by gaining a greater understanding of the business of music. Okay, so in this week's episode, I'm excited, guys. I'm going to share with you the very, very early stages of a new company called Release Assist. Now, I was made aware of Release Assist, which are a new kind of tech startup. I was made aware of them by Jamie Sellers, the brilliant Jamie Sellers, who was my guest from episode 17. Now, Release Assist, just picture this, everybody. Okay, so, all the music's been made. The artwork is there, everything's perfect, everything's polished, and now you need to release the music. And you've got all of these amazing different options of marketing insights and reports here and all this kind of stuff. And hopefully this podcast that helps you a little bit as well. But it can be a little bit, I don't know, let's say overwhelming, right? There's a lot of different choices out there. Who do I distribute to? How do I push for playlists? All that kind of stuff. Now, I try and simplify a lot of that as best as I can, right? But what about if you actually just had one source, one go-to company that can assist your release, right? With humans behind it to help you along the way, right? That's what Release Assist is all about. And when Jamie told me about the company, I thought, wow, why has no one done that before? It's brilliant. So it's set up by two guys who I'm going to interview today. And their names are Adriano and James, and they're both creatives, and they're both very good technologists. And they had the idea to set this up because of the feedback that they've had from other people. So they run a monthly networking night called Music Matters in London. And there's been a lot of people that talk to them that say, hey, look, we just need help with, assisting us on how we best release our music, So James is one of these people that kind of takes very complex data and builds tools, right? He's been designing apps since he was a teenager. He's one of those kind of people. He's a creative as well. But he has an innate ability to be able to kind of take a lot of complex data, build them into tools that have a much more simple interface in order to help people to be able to release their music better. Adriano is a producer and a very successful one. He's had lots of credits on BBC, Netflix, all sorts of different places. And they have this kind of very helpful, approachable manner about them. And they are building something that I think has got real legs. So just think about a kind of all-in-one tool that can kind of do like AI-powered forecasting and figure out the best time to release in a certain genre, a particular kind of seasonal time of the year, multi-platform insights, audience targeting, industry benchmarks, all in one place, right? So this is very, very, very early on. I dare say as a tech startup, they're probably going to get some investment at some point and build this thing even further. But right now they're in beta testing, which means they're working with artists at the very early stage to be able to figure out where their music sits best and then how to actually target the market for their music, right? And actually not all of their answers sit in social media and kind of doing stuff that artists don't always want to do with, having to be creative on TikTok and all that kind of stuff. That's perhaps a part of it, but it's not everything, right? It's also not all about meta advertising. It's about something that's unique to their platform that simplifies the process of releasing music. So I interviewed them today. I'm going to share that with you now. See what you think. Get a notepad, get a pen, get questions. Come back to me with the questions. I'll send them on to them if you like. This is early stages of their company and where they're at in their development. And it's exciting time to talk to them. Release Assist. Here's the interview. James, Adriano, welcome to the Music Business Buddy. It's good to have you here. I've been hearing good things about both of you. First of all, how are you both?
Very well. Thank you for having us.
Good. It's a pleasure.
Caffeinated, so feeling good.
Oh, good, good. Okay, that's that's always a bonus, James. Always a
Mm,
bonus.
yeah.
Um, so there's much to discuss, and I am very excited about what you're building, right? And I think the role that it could play in the careers of many music creators. So let's talk about it. You have created Release Assist, right? And could you just explain how it enables artists to become more informed of their release tactics?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll let James go into the technical stuff for it because he's the guy behind it all. Um, I'll let James go first, and then I'll talk about some other more like conceptual stuff.
Sure.
Oh, so technically, we basically get our artists to just share a little bit about what they're looking to do for their release. So they will set a goal with us, so they'll go like, I want to reach 1 million streams on my next single. We then ask them to plug in all of their like online basically presence, so we can connect to things like their TikTok and their Spotify. We take all of that information and then we put it through a few different layers of technical wizardry. And we have an algorithm and then an AI sprinkle because it's 2026 and you can't start a business unless you've said AI at least 10 times. So I'm just got a little like marker just here, just going like AI tick tick, and now say it again tick.
AI. I've never heard of that. What's that, James? AI.
How much time have we got? How much time have we got? Yeah, and we basically use all that information combined with the information that we get from other artists that use our platform, and also just kind of general industry knowledge and like good practice, and we use that to basically inform them of what they basically need to do in order to improve their successes and chances of success in their release.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That's a lot of good information. Adriano, was there anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I guess so. On a broader sense, it's artists obviously want to reach a certain amount of streams, and like having a goal is great. But like if you are not measuring the goal, and if you've not got like some sort of steps to actually reach it, then the goal is somewhat useless. So I guess what Release Assist is doing is allowing you to have a goal and then have like a finish line, and then have steps to move towards it. And it's not about specifically streams. We're not saying we're promising you streams. What we're saying is we're going to help you get closer to the goal that you said you want to achieve. So it's more like psychological.
Okay. There's many, many, many cool things about this. One of the things that first leaps to my mind is the importance of goal setting. Because I think when you talk to a lot of music creators and you'll say, what is the purpose of you releasing this single? And I ask that, in a very healthy way to a lot of music creators, and they'll go, well, just so as many people as possible can hear it. And I go, that's lovely, but it's a bit lofty and it's not quite specific enough. You know, is the goal to be able to go, right, we've got 6 singles that are going to roll into an album, or this is just one single where I'm going to test and get some analytics, and then that can further inform me of where I go next. The importance of actually having a goal, presumably you need that in order for you to be able to make this work.
Absolutely. And I think inherently, like artists and creatives, the goal is to just make art. And we will do that every day, whether someone's going to listen to it or not. But when you like go into like data and analytics and statistics, it becomes like harder to really relate to that as a creative, because honestly, who cares if you're an artist? But when you go into the music industry and you make a business out of your art, then you have to care. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. Like, you have to care. So this is kind of connect, because me and James are both creatives. We're connecting art to the industry in a way where artists are maybe they feel a little bit of an ick about it, and we're just like, okay, look, this platform is going to help you really like transform the way that you view strategy and data and statistics, and hopefully improve the music economy for the better.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things that, and you two will be well aware of this, but the grapple I think for some artists is kind of like, right, here's where I am as a person, and I'm trying to be unique. Here I am as an artist, and I'm trying to be unique. But it could perhaps be argued that the biggest gatekeepers in the industry in the modern era are the algorithms, right? So, if you've got to, I often say, if you're going to sell something, it's got to go in a box, right? And I think sometimes I say that, and it kind of rubs some artists up the wrong way, and I don't mean it to. I just mean that the early stages of an artist's career, especially, it's important that they know where they sit in terms of their metadata, because if their metadata aligns with their goals, then that data can not only inform their approaches, but also you can take that data to future partners and go, this is where I'm at, this is what I've done. Is that a part of the goal here for artists to be able to kind of build data and understanding as to where they fit and then use that as evidence for future partners?
Yeah, I think I see that as part of our goal. Our platform's super new, and so I think for every 10 wonderful ideas that are all thematically connected to what we're trying to achieve, we've only built like one or two of them. But definitely, I think at the moment, like we help and educate artists know and understand that like their metadata is important, and we're trying to teach them, basically, kind of connecting to what Adriano said. We're kind of going, you do the art, you let us tell you and inform you and educate you on how actually you need to make your art connect with the systems and structures that are put in place by the music industry, and how you can best leverage them to get your art heard and get your art listened to more people, and hopefully the right people as well. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like that, because there's an education lift to this as well for the artists.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I often find when I talk to music creators is, if I say what's the career goal, the answer is very often to make a living as a music creator, and I think that's a really, really, really good goal. But
it's also not unreasonable either. Like, people and musicians should be able to do that, because there's enough money swilling around that should be possible.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I totally agree, James. The only trouble with that sometimes is where artists then need to go, oh, okay, so there's the business that attaches to my art. And that's where you guys come in, right? Is that, I mean, how did the idea of setting this whole thing up, how did it come to you? Like, what was it that made you go, we need to build this?
So James and I hosted networking events over the last couple of years where we talked to hundreds of artists, and there was a main theme around, we love making art. We don't need more art creation tools, but it's really horrible to have to sit down and make TikToks and content. For what reason? And that kind of always bubbled into the back of my mind. And I was coming out of the gym one day, and I was looking through the car park, and I love to tell this story. It's my favorite story, but I tell it to everyone. I was looking through the car park and all of these nice, really, really nice cars. And I was just like, how can everyone drive such nice cars, but no one like has any extra like driving lessons? And it's because they have lane assist, they have like handbrake assist, they have reversing cameras, and the cameras that you can see the top-down view of the car. Like, how the hell do they even do that? And I'm thinking, that's how they protect their investment. They can spend so much more on cars, and they've got built-in systems to ensure that the investment's protected. Why don't we have that sort of thing in the music industry? Artists are spending thousands on their music, but they have no lane assist. They have nothing that's going to keep them on a path to ensure that they're protecting the money they've put into their art. And so I told this idea to James, and he was like, yeah, this is something that we could actually build, right? Like, this is something this is not just a stupid idea. So that's kind of where it started.
Wow. What a wonderful analogy.
Thank you.
I love that. I don't think I've never heard it sort of explained in that way before, in terms of like, here's the kind of light bulb, eureka moment.
Yeah.
That's superb. I absolutely love that. And it makes a lot of sense. Because, there is that kind of goal of, right, let's make the music, let's do this, let's do that. Now what? Oh, crikey, let's just fling it out and hope for the best. And, it doesn't always work that way, does it? That's really good. Okay. So understanding, kind of engagement and insights into demographic, they're all an important part of the process, let's say. What can actually be done, do you think, to kind of target a specific audience once it's actually been identified? Like, is the answer in sort of meta advertising? Is that part of the strategy, or is there something else to it?
So I think kind of looking at targeting your audience once you've kind of figured them out is just making sure that like every single touch point of you as an artist, so like your content, your release timing, your playlist pitching, like your distributor strategy, is just everything is just speaking to that person that you're going after, or that like persona of audience that you're going after. We at the moment help artists kind of get to that point. So we kind of nudge them and push them towards understanding all of those different things in the first place. Specifically meta ads, we don't particularly advise on like specific creatives or like the deep kind of like advertising is a whole nother, like that could be a whole another company. Release assist ads. I'll workshop that. That was probably the worst thing I've ever come up with. I promise you, I am a creative. That did not come across. It's something that's really interesting, and I think there's a surge of other kind of like organizations and consultants and creatives that are kind of consulting and advising musicians on the only way you could get your music heard is by leveraging ads. And so we're quite, I think, cautious to advise that sort of thing, because it can be true that you can use adverts and deploy them to, get your music heard by people, but it's not the only way. And I think we're just cautious of, I think, as I've said before, like it's education, and it's informing people that yes, this is an option, but actually you've got 10 different options that you could leverage to try and get your stuff heard. Is that kind of the right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and it's nice because it's kind of, I often wonder, and I'm not an expert in this particular subject of ads and meta ads and stuff. I know a lot of people use them and they find them very effective, but I also know a lot of people and companies that are not using them as much as they used to. Especially in terms of like turnover into, well, kind of the flip into fandom, let's say, as to what that actually looks like. It's perhaps in a few years ago it was more effective, sweeping statement, but there could be some truth to that perhaps. What about artists that do you often get artists that kind of talk to you that say, I really want to connect with my audience, I don't really know who they are, and I don't feel authentic if I have to try and be silly on TikTok, for example? Is that something that you come across?
Yeah, I mean, so before Release Assist, I'm still a producer. My main thing is a producer, and like that's a conversation I have all the time with artists where, they put a camera up in the corner of the room to try and capture some of the session, and they immediately their mannerism changes because they're suddenly on camera, and it shouldn't be like that. It should just be you're capturing the real kind of moment, So, sorry, I went on a tangent. I forgot your question.
No.
Repeat the question for me.
Yeah, there's just the idea of not, if artists are just not that comfortable with kind of, going on camera, having to follow certain crazes or feel like they have to follow certain crazes,
exactly, yeah.
Is there any advice that you give to them for that?
100%. Your audience or your potential audience is going to connect with the emotion and the values that you're putting in front of them. So obviously the goal is for them to listen to your music, but really nobody wakes up and thinks, I'm going to go to TikTok to find a new artist. But they might really connect with the visual, they might connect with the words. Ultimately, they're going to connect with the aesthetic of what you're putting on your video before they actually listen to the music. So if you're trying to sell music, someone who's, in my experience, someone who's scrolling TikTok, as soon as they see a caption which says, I'm a new musician, please go stream, it's like, I don't care, like I'm going to scroll. But if they say, my music is about rainbows and daisies, if you love rainbows and daisies, go to listen to my music, then whoever loves rainbows and daisies is already sold to that. And
I'm sold.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it doesn't even matter whether you're selling music or whatever it
Rainbows
is.
and daisies.
Exactly. So I think it's about broadening the scope of the type of person. Like if you want to be specific about the type of person that you want to listen to your music, then figure out exactly what it is that you're offering beyond the music, and hopefully the people who connect with you will flock to you.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting because hearing you talk here about guys, it's like it feels like kind of like a hybrid between A&R and marketing. You know, there's the kind of there's the sort of the pre-production and the post-production, if you will. So the kind of the ideas of right, let's get the goals in place, pre-production stuff. You know, what are the things that align with what you're doing? Okay, now let's go and then let's have a look at the data. And I think that that's a really really good approach. It makes how would you? I know it's early days and it's probably maybe it's unfair to ask this, so feel free to disregard this question if you wish. But what do you want next with this? Like, how would you like to see the platform develop moving forward beyond where you're at right now, which is a really exciting beginning, into kind of, you know, let's say 3 years, 5 years from now? I know it's kind of impossible to guess what things are going to look
Sure,
like
yeah.
then, but do you have ideas as to how you want to branch it out further?
Oh, yeah, we have many, many ideas. I mean, I guess for context, right now we're in beta, so we're asking people to come on board, try out the platform, give us feedback, tell us what they like about it, what they don't like about it. Moving forward, the idea would be as soon as you think, I want to release a song, you think, okay, let me go to my release assistant or my release assist account and see where I'm standing with my data right now and what I need to do to improve that. And I think it's kind of, I dream of it being somewhat as second nature as DistroKid, where you go to DistroKid to release your song or whatever distributor you have, and it's just something that becomes part of the course. And moving forward, I guess a B2B offering where like teams of people can look over like a roster of artists where they can oversee strategies and then also kind of implement strategies that they're doing manually, as well as having our platform implementing strategies for them. So but that's just like two ideas of many, many.
And I think one other thing that we've been thinking about a lot is kind of the community layer and the kind of the joining of the dots more like emphatically with like our platform and like partners that we create. So that could be like connecting artists with like other collaborators, like other like producers. Like these are like, I know, sync opportunities, industry contacts, like whatever that kind of looks like, in ways that kind of feel organic, not like transactional. Because the whole music industry just entirely runs on relationships, and those relationships are completely gated behind who you know, and perhaps an entity that doesn't want to give them to you unless you sign a very long contract that maybe tells you can do or not do certain things, not naming what they could be what they are in particular. And ultimately, like, we want to be democratizing that access. And I think, yeah, our vision for Release Assist is to almost be like, I guess, the operating system for like an independent artist's career in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, not just the release day, but everything around it, I think.
Yeah. And I think a massive part of it is, obviously we mentioned it many times, like the whole gatekeeping aspect of the music industry. And we hear a lot of people saying we don't want gatekeeping. Yes, I completely 100% agree. But maybe the solution isn't to remove the gate. Maybe the solution is to realize that you are, as an artist, you are the key to the gate. And without you, there is no point for the gate. And if you can understand your value and you can understand how your potential and your art has power to unlock gates that you didn't even know you could unlock, then you're somehow like unstoppable.
Oh, that's very quotable. I like that. Oh, that's very good. Just going back to the idea you mentioned, James, about the community side of things. Do you guys see that as like, you know, do you have ideas to kind of set up events to bring people together and that kind of thing, or is it the community more kind of an online community going forward? Or is it a bit of both? Because I really like that aspect of it, of people, because it can feel like solitary confinement for a lot of artists, can't it? Like, I'm on my own, and actually, it's really nice to kind of have that community, that support.
Both, I think. Like as we said at the beginning, me and Adriano, we the first thing we did together was run events and create community, because it was something that we wanted to kind of foster, because we both loved the music industry, and also I hopefully can speak correctly on behalf of Adriano, but also we both deeply wanted to change so that it works for more people. And yeah, creation of community, I think, is always the first step, because it's kind of building consensus around your idea to facilitate that change. We were actually talking, I think, literally like yesterday or the other day, going like, we need to run another event. Because we've been doing so much of this that we haven't managed to find the time to put on an in-person event. But online stuff's interesting. We honestly haven't talked about it that much, as in like building an online community, as in like, I don't know, a virtual networking event, or like whatever that is. So but I think both, for sure, in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's something that you're already doing and making work. So it's it's a continuation of it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So may I ask you both about yourself? I know a little bit about you both, but and I've heard great things about you both from our good mutual friend Jamie Sellers, right?
Shout out to Jamie.
Shout out to Jamie. Everybody loves Jamie, don't they? He's brilliant.
He's a good guy.
Could you tell, just for the benefit of the audience, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourselves? Adriano, I should come to you first.
Yeah, so I mean, how far back do we want to go? I started music when I started playing piano at 9. I picked up guitar when I was 15, and I went to study music performance at college. And then I went to ICMP to do creative musicianship, and with the intention of being an artist, actually. But I really fell in love with production. And I realized if I want to make music every day, well, I realized that I do want to make music every day, and that means I have to make money out of music. So I started producing for people. And I don't know if I should say this, but actually at uni, I was doing everyone else's coursework, because nobody enjoyed production as much as me. So they were paying me to do their coursework. And that actually helped me open my first studio with my friend Lewis. So we had a studio for 2 or 3 years together. He moved up to northwest London. I stayed in East London, and that's just kind of how I've continued. I've now got this studio that I run on my own, and I'm here 6 or 7 days a week, really.
Wow, good for you. Well done for making that all work.
Well, we're trying still.
Yeah. It's every day's a gamble, isn't it? But
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
well done. That's super. Wow. So you're kind of producing in a range of different styles, and
Yeah, so I mean, I'm open to all styles. I think naturally I've fallen into R&B because I have quite a jazzy kind of ear. My tutors at college were very jazz influenced as well, so that's just really influenced what I'm doing now. But I do a lot of pop. I was in an indie rock band for 5 years as well, so like I'm not limiting myself to R&B, but I think the market is actually, if anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. And James, what about your good self?
My background is mixed. So I at senior school, I used to develop iPhone apps, and I also studied music alongside that. Those that know me wouldn't believe that I was actually a really, really quiet kid for a period during my senior school years, which will come as a shock. I can hear the gasps from my friends who are hearing what feels like a lie from miles away. Yeah, when my voice broke, so I started getting super into tech, and developed iPhone apps as a teenager. Then once my voice had settled down, I took up singing again. Shut up. I took up singing again, and then studied music. Went all the way through uni to do music technology. So I kind of was combining the two loves of my life, which are music and tech. And yeah, then from there, took a little interlude, worked for Apple for a little bit, all the whilst, and kind of music took a backseat. And then it was kind of the realization a couple of years ago that I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing anything to do with music, given that I studied it for so many years? And then started doing music again. So I'm a choir leader for a pop choir called Some Voices, the fun kind, not the boring kind that I think sometimes choirs have a reputation of being. And yeah, I'm also a vocal coach, and then have been dabbling in all kinds of like tech nerdery little ideas for forever. And then Adriano was just someone that literally just ran at me with an idea that I was like, I can build it, let me do it. And yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Wow, brilliant. Okay, so you both come at this from a very musical place, but also a very technology-driven place. One of the interesting things as well about where you're at and your idea is that it is informed through very kind of useful market research, right? You're on the ground, you talk to a lot of people, and presumably done some basic pattern recognition in problems, right? And therefore the need, which is why I think you'll do very well with Release Assist. I think it's really really exciting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
it's great. I love it. Okay, let me ask you a little bit about the music business, right? Before we finish, I want to ask you about what you would, if we were to kind of like leap ahead a few years from now, you wanted to kind of change something about the music business, what would it be?
Oh,
The opacity. I think the music industry has, and we've said this before, right? I think the music industry has typically survived on keeping artists in the dark about how their royalties work, how decisions get made, who owns what. And I think the streaming was supposed to democratize things. I think, but I think it's instead just made different gatekeepers. Because like we all know that, for example, like we can all say Spotify pays badly per stream, but we don't know how much they pay per stream. And then we go like, well, how much does Apple Music pay, and how much does Deezer pay, and how much? Like people still don't know how their money, how much they're going to make out of music, and also how any of those decisions were made. And they're just kind of they're not party to them, but they're forced to partake in it. And so I want to see the power dynamic change for especially independent artists, so that it doesn't feel so uneven anymore. Because ultimately, I think music is storytelling, right? And I think we hear a lot from the same storytellers over and over again. And I think the music industry and people, and without trying to sound too like existential, but humanity deserves to hear more stories from diverse and interesting voices that you typically don't get to hear because of how the music industry is structured. And that means everyone. No one wants to hear from another boy band that Simon Cowell has put together. Sorry, Simon. Please work with us, but maybe work with us to find a different voice that aren't the same ones that you keep picking every 10, 15 years,
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
I like
okay.
that. I echo that. I had a conversation recently with a manager who we kind of struck an idea where when you used to buy a vinyl, it would have a sticker on it, and it was literally the record label, right? And he was saying that his dad would see the label name and buy the album because he trusted the label, because the labels used to use gatekeeping in a good way, where good artists would be signed because they could sing songs that were good. That is true still, but there's also an element of untruthfulness nowadays with that. The labels aren't really being held accountable for the artists that they sign anymore because it's all about money. Um, I think if we can make one massive change, it would be holding labels accountable for the artists that they're putting all this money behind, importantly, risking the artist's mental health. I mean, we see now like artists are being absolutely worked to the bone, and the labels aren't being held accountable for that. Yes, like these artists are getting loads of success, but it doesn't like correlate. Like you're not going to risk your health for money. Like that's just not right. So I think if we could see the business move to a place where labels can be held more accountable for the artist's health and the quality of the art and the quality of the artist's life, we can see an overall better artist economy. That's what I believe anyway.
Interesting. Okay, I like it. Yeah, there's some good values here and some good ideas that are all perfectly attach themselves to the mission of what Release Assist is all about, right? If we're talking about fairness, surely one of the solutions to fairness is to be able to give artists the same tools that labels have got, right? Which is what you're doing. I can see huge growth for you in terms of strategic partnerships. Definitely on a B2B level as well, Adriano. I definitely see where you're coming from there, and most certainly in educating and empowering and emerging artists. I think it's great. I really do. I really appreciate.
Can I add one extra thing?
Please,
which is just something the most joyous part of like building this with Adriano is that we aligned on our values first, and we kind of already knew that already before we then started to try and build it. And one thing that has always been really, really joyful, and it gives me a lot of hope and happiness for however this is, however it's going to go, and I hope and believe that it's going to go really well, is that we regularly, as part of like discussing new features or the direction that we want to go, we always orient it around the values that we both hold together. And like the mission is kind of like, everyone, when they talk about a company mission, they always mean like, we're going to do this because it's going to be really great for this. And it's like, well, actually, I think mine and Adriano's mission is a little bit deeper and more personal. And it's really nice to channel that into something that feels like it's going to productively do something. And it's just, this would basically be me saying that I love Adriano. And so, but just framing it around our business, really. But yeah,
100%. And I think seeing ourselves make something because we are artists and we care about artists it's for me, I think it's refreshing, because all these like money making platforms for artists are built by industry people who maybe they're not as connected to art in the same way that we are. That might be a bit of a overstatement, I don't know, but in my experience, I connect so much more with the artist side of music rather than the business side of music. And I take this as I'm very, very grateful and very blessed to have this platform. Even just like talking on this podcast is something that I wouldn't have imagined a year ago. So yeah, it's great to be in this world.
Good for you. Good for both of you. That's super. I think there's going to be a lot of people that they're listening to you right now and are nodding along, going, "Yeah, those guys are right. Like that's what we need going forward." And it's not like you're asking for the earth. You're just asking for balance. And I think that's a fair request. I've already started to see some of the signs of that starting to happen, since the turn of the decade, perhaps. But there's a little bit further to go yet, isn't there? Which is
definitely.
So yeah, good for you. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me and sharing your idea. When Jamie told me about you two and what you're up to, and I thought, oh, let's talk early before this all blows up, and and it goes really, really well, and you'll be super busy. I mean, you're already busy people, right? You're already very busy, successful music industry professionals and whatnot. But
I'm glad you think that. That's good. The actor's working.
Yeah. I'm just going to take a clip of this moment.
Yeah.
And just go see.
Well, that's one
Go
of the
straight on my LinkedIn.
That's one of the great things I like about the podcast is it's almost like little time capsules in people's careers, and it's like a great grabbing a moment, isn't it, and going, right, let's look at that again in a few years, because right now it is so exciting. So congratulations to both of you. I wish you just love and luck with it all. I don't think you need it. I think you'll be fine, but you got my full support.
We'll take it.
I hope you're right. I really do. Yeah.
Good for you guys.
We'll take it.
Oh yeah. You take it. Yeah, thank you both so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, there you have it, everybody. Good guys, right? Doing something for the right reasons. I think that they really believe in what they're doing. I believe in what they're doing. I think they're going to do well with this. I think there's going to be other stages to the development in terms of the offering, right? And what the price point looks like. It's got to be the right price point, right, for this to work. They know that. But I think they've got something which actually helps people. And that's what this is all about. They talked in the interview, didn't they, about removing gatekeepers. That's something that a lot of people people are talking about, right? You could argue that gatekeepers are not just people, they're also algorithms. But I think sometimes knowing where to start in terms of how to target that audience, what does my audience actually, what are they into? What would support their interests that align with my music and my goals, all that kind of stuff? That can be the thing that's very, very difficult to get right. And I think those two are brilliant at it. So I'm glad that they've started that. I wish them all the luck in the world going forward, as I do to you as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. Until next time, everybody, may the force be with you.